Hello and welcome back to the OTB channel. Are you an Arch Linux fan, but you'd prefer if Arch had an easier installer, but at the same time you don't really want the installer to dictate what programs or applications get installed? Maybe ArcoLinux is for you. Let's get into it after the intro. Okay, hello again. As many of you will know, at the beginning of the week I put up a little questionnaire asking what you would like to see me review out of 4 potential distros. And overwhelmingly, 45% of you said ArcoLinux. So ArcoLinux it is. And I have to say, it's not a distro I've looked at before. You already know that I'm an Arch fan, and I've looked at various easy install scripts, and I've looked at Endeavour, which I was quite impressed with. I liked the Anarchy install script, probably the best of all. But ArcoLinux is quite interesting. I'd never used it, and I don't know why, because it's quite popular. It's certainly in the top 20 on Distro Watch, as much as that actually means anything. But I thought, okay, well, let's go and give it a look and see what it's all about. And like most people who are looking at a particular distro that they're going to play with, I started off with the website. So let's just move over to the split screen and have a look. Now, ArcoLinux isn't a single project. It seems to consist of 3 separate projects. There's the standard ArcoLinux distribution, which comes completely pre-configured with XFCE, OpenBox and i3, which is great. As you know, that's not my preferred desktop. I prefer a Mate desktop, but XFCE is great. OpenBox and i3, okay, they're options. Personally, I'm not that much of a fan of very basic window managers. I like my Bling, but i3 is quite a nice window manager. I've tried it before, and I was relatively impressed. But I thought, well, if I install just the standard ArcoLinux ISO, I'm just going to end up with what I've got no doubt will be a very nice themed XFCE desktop. We've done that before, to be honest. So what else is in the ArcoLinux project? And it's probably as well to describe it as a project, because it's almost set out as a learning program, quite explicitly, in fact, that you start from the beginning and you move on to the different phases of the project. And as you do that, the intention is that you learn more and more. Phase 2 apparently is downloading the next ISO, the ArcoLinuxD ISO, which doesn't impose any particular desktop environment on you, but allows you to choose. And phase 2 is simply downloading this ISO and installing XFCE and OpenBox and i3 yourself. Phase 3, though, was what caught my attention. As it says here, there are many desktop environments out there. Learn to install, awesome, BSP, WM, Budgie, etc., on ArcoLinuxD. So Mate's included there. So ArcoLinuxD looked like the thing that I should go for. There's some options. You can see the amount of different desktops that are here. Which is great. Choice is always good. Then there's phase 4. So ArcoLinux, ArcoLinuxD, and then ArcoLinuxB. ArcoLinuxB is where you go a stage further and you download various scripts and the like from the ArcoLinux GitHub repo, and you build your own distribution. In fact, you can even build your own ISO. Okay, all good. It even on this website shows you how to install Arch the Archway. So, in a way, this website is one big tutorial with a whole range of options for how you want to install the distro. ArcoLinuxD seems to be that happy middle ground where we want to have an automated installer, but we want choice about what we do. I've spent hours on this website, literally this morning, hours looking through it. And the one thing that I would say, and we'll just move to the home here, the one thing that I would say is that ArcoLinux, oh, right, okay, let's go to the info page. ArcoLinux, the website, contains some gold nuggets of information in here. It really does. However, and this is a big however, I found the website, as someone who isn't familiar with it, particularly difficult to navigate. The information seems to be all over the place, and it almost strikes me as if it was set up initially, and then as it's been added to, bits have been bolted on here, there, and everywhere. And my overall impression is it's just not structured in an organised way. I found myself going through a number of instructions on how to do particular things, and the instructions would suddenly finish and throw a video at me. I think videos are great, but I'd like the text first as well, the full text, without it being broken up and having to watch another video. So, great information on this website. Nevertheless, I do feel that it probably needs organising in a better way. So, as far as the downloads are concerned, well, if I just go to the download ISOs link, we have a range of different options here. We can install ArcoLinux, which takes us to a SourceForge page, and we would just choose the ArcoLinux ISO, and you can see all the previous ones there. The last one was published on the 9th of January, so it's quite new. Or we can go to the ArcoLinuxD folder, and again, 9th of January 2020, we can download the ISO from here. But what about if we want to download this ArcoLinuxB and build for ourselves? Well, from what I've gathered, you would normally start with ArcoLinuxD if you were going to build it yourself. But on the downloads link, there are a load of community editions here that you are able to download of just about every desktop environment you could think of. And I'm assuming these are all pre-configured. And yeah, so there's the ArcoLinuxB Mate ISO. And if you just want something that's ready to go, albeit themed in a way that presumably a member of the community has done, you could always download one of these. But anyway, we're going to do ArcoLinuxD, and we're going to try and install Mate, and we're going to see what the installation process is all about. So I've downloaded the ArcoLinuxD ISO. It's hooked up into VirtualBox, normal settings. I've got it is set up in UEFI mode, 8 gig of RAM, 32 gig virtual hard drive, 2 cores of my i5 processor. Let's see how it does. We may need to wait a little while in EFI mode on VirtualBox, so we'll come back as soon as it starts booting. And here we come back now. It did boot after the normal VirtualBox delay, and it's booting into the, well, I think it's going to be a very minimal window manager, as this will just be the delivery system. And you can see in front of you, we haven't got the resolution right. So let's just put this into scaled mode for the time being. Okay, and we're straight into a Calamaris installer. So let's start setting everything up. So British English, and next. And now we have the option to do a package selection. One thing that strikes me here, I watched a video this morning from Eric Dubois, and on the Calamaris installer that he was using, it had options on here to install various desktop environments. I see this doesn't appear to have that, which is interesting. We do, however, get the choice of whether we want the LTS kernel or the standard kernel. I'm just going to pick standard. Do we need NVIDIA? Well, I don't need it. Do we need the Intel or the AMD microcode? Not in VirtualBox, but nice to get the office of or the option of LibreOffice Fresh. Certainly don't want WPS Office, and we'll follow along. It's got our time zone correct, so next. It's picked our default UK keyboard, so next. And let's just erase the disk. Do we need a swap partition? Not really, not on VirtualBox. It's obviously recognised we've booted in EFI mode, so it's going to set up an EFI partition, 300 meg, and the rest it's going to give over to an ext4 root partition. So next, and we put in our name. So let's go the normal route here, OTB. I put in a password and repeat it. And I'm going to use the same password for the admin account. And does everything look right there? Yes, it does. So I'm going to hit install. And this shouldn't take too long. Because I wasn't able to choose a desktop environment, I'm assuming here that I'm going to boot into a command line. But however, I'm going to speed this up and we'll see what happens when we get back. Right, so we're all done. I'm just going to hit the done button. We will reboot now, or rather I'm going to shut it down, make sure the ISO's been removed, and we will come back in a second and see what we've ended up with. Right, so that's the installation complete. Let's boot and see what we've got. We'll switch over to scaled mode again for the time being. Okay, so we have a nice boot screen. Boot into ArcoLinux. And we go straight to a login screen. Okay, so pretty much what I was expecting there. Let's just nip over to the ArcoLinux website and we'll talk a little bit about what I've seen. It tells us that ArcoLinux has created 18 ISOs for us to download or build. And what I expected to see was a little welcome screen, which gave us the option to run gparted to start off with, and then to run Calamaris. And during the installation process, to be given the option to install a desktop. That didn't happen. We just booted straight into Calamaris. I see that this article was only... that this article was only released on January the 30th, and it says next release of the ISO, 15th of February. So we may be a little bit too early for that. Therefore, on the website, I've found an article, installation of ArcoLinuxD Mate, and we will just follow along. So let's go back to our virtual machine here. Let me just click in and we'll log in, OTB. I'll enter my password, and I see we've got NeoFetch there already. Okay, all good. So what I'll do, I'm going to follow along installation of ArcoLinuxD Mate from the website. The first instruction is to type mirror. To find the fastest mirror. And off it goes. It's rating all the various mirrors for us. Shouldn't take too long. And then we can move on to do an update, and then to git clone the Arco Linux Mate scripts and run them individually. So let's do an update to start off with. So that would just be sudo pacman syyu and see if there's anything that it needs us to install before we start. Quite a lot, so let me do this. I'll pause this until it's done. Okay, so that's the update done and all seems good. The next stage is to do a git clone and to pull down all of the ArcoLinuxD Mate scripts. I will include links in the information for the video so that you've got the links to go straight to this page, but it's actually git clone https / github.com ArcoLinuxD / Arco Mate. Let me just check the spelling of that. Looks right to me. Clearly Git's already installed, and let's just have a look. Okay, it's created a folder for us, so let's cd into that folder and have a look at what we've got. Well, the instructions on the web page now tell us to move inside the downloaded folder, which we've done, and run the scripts from the smallest number to the largest number. Okay, I am assuming that they have already been made executable, but let's just have a look. And yes, they are all executable. So let's start with 000. So, right, sudo and that's it. And next one is, I presume, just to run the 100 script. This, I think, will not only install our desktop manager, but also, so Mate, but also our light DM greeter. So what I'm going to do, I'm literally going to work my way through that list. This is probably going to take a while, and run every script, reboot, and see what we end up with. I'll pause this here and come back once that's done. Okay, so I've run the majority of scripts now. What I should do, of course, is look inside every single one. I haven't bothered with the Bluetooth scripts because that's not something I'm that interested in. And I haven't installed the TLP for laptop script. I've run through all the rest, but stopped when it got to auto login and fix microcode error. So enough has been run that I'm hoping will produce us a decent looking desktop. So I'm going to reboot now and see what we end up with. Right, so I've just rebooted after running those scripts, and it's booted straight into Light DM. A really nice theme, I have to say. And I'm in full screen mode by the look of it, 1920 by 1080. So let me just log in and see what we get. Right. Well, the one thing that I can tell you is this is not the default Mate desktop. Those scripts have clearly been hard at work giving me a customized desktop. I'm looking down here and I'm guessing this is Plank. Let me just see if I hit the control about. Yes, it's the Plank dock. Okay, it's got Termite, Simple Screen Recorder, Sublime Text, and Firefox on the Plank dock. Let's have a look at what we've got inside. I have to say, I love this theming and I love the icons. I think they look great. So accessories, wow, plenty of stuff there. Education, okay, LibreOffice Math. Graphics, we've got the GIMP there. Inkscape. Mate colour selection. Ristretto. Document viewer and a document scanner. What about this? The internet. So we've got Chromium, Firefox, Telegram and Discord and QBitTorrent installed by default. QBitTorrent's a funny choice, but never mind. I'd have normally gone for transmission. On Office, we've got a couple of document viewers and the whole of the LibreOffice suite. HP UI scan. Genie, Atom, CMake, Mels. So if you're a programmer, you might find them useful. And sound and video, we've got G-Radio, Peak, Praga, Pulse Audio System Tray, the Radio Tray, VLC, and all of our standard system tools. Arco Linux Fast Track. What happens if I click that? Right, it's taking us to the relevant Arco Linux page. That's fine. Okay, so what else is there? Kaha, however you pronounce it. Conky if you want it on. I personally am not a fan of Conky, I must admit. I'm quite impressed with this so far. I really like the look and feel of it. We've got the LightDM GTK greeter settings already installed. Let's have a look at our displays. Yeah, it's 1920 by 1080. Power management, ad block, deconf editor, gparted, personal file sharing, and then a range of things in look and feel. Mate tweak tool. Let's have a look at that. So it's chosen the default GNOME 2 look. I wondered why Plank was on the left. But that's fine. What do I normally prefer on this? Fedora and OpenSUSE. None of them, I don't think. I'd need to play with that. Cavantum Manager. I'm not quite sure what Cavantum Manager is. Comes with many themes, but external themes can also be installed for being used by it. I'd have to have a look to see exactly what that was about. But so far, so good. And what do we have up here? In the top right, well, obviously date and time. Our Ethernet connection. And is this per Mac? Let's have a look. It would seem to be per Mac. Okay. I don't generally use that for installation. I use it as an update notifier and a search tool. So, right, I really like this. I do. I mean, I would still probably theme it to suit, but hey, it's a nice desktop. I want to see what we've actually got installed here as far as look and feel is concerned. Let's go to Appearance. And let's hit Customize, and we'll just see what's already installed. So it looks like the controls are the Arch Dark controls. Are they? Yeah, Arc Dark. The window border is Arc Dark as well. The icons in use are Surfing Arc. Never heard of them, but like them. Okay, what about backgrounds? Okay, we've not got a huge amount of backgrounds here, I have to say. But get more backgrounds online. Let's just have a look, see what that brings up. Okay. Just a standard web page to download them. But there's nothing actually wrong with having a minimal amount of backgrounds, and then you can install your own. Noto Sans as the default font. Okay. Guys, I'm liking what I'm seeing at the moment. I'm not sure I'd stick with this wallpaper, but at the end of the day, yeah, quite good. Now, excuse me. What we were told on the ArcoLinux website was once you've run these scripts, and by the way, just to show you, if I look at install Samba, for instance, you can open these up. I'll open that with Pluma, which is probably a bad choice, and you can go and see exactly what it's going to install and whether or not you want to run it. I did a little bit of a just do this quickly and run the ones that I think without reading them, but if I was putting it on bare metal, I'd probably have a look inside. We have a number of other folders. The Archway. Okay. Which I presume is to add ArcoLinux repositories if you've actually installed the Archway. I have no idea what that is for the AUR, but there seems to be quite a lot to install the radio tray, to install brackets, to install caffeine, to install Canon. Let's just pick something else to open that with. Let's try it with Genie. Install Canon. Not exactly a programmer. I can sometimes make out what a package is trying to do, but it looks to me like that's pretty much just installing Trizon. Okay. It might have drawn off some of these scripts when I was running the main scripts. What the website says is go into Personal and decide what you're going to install from there. So, install personal folders. Right. What's Atom? Is that going to open up in a text editor? I'm not sure what Atom is, but might as well look. Okay, probably a little bit more than I need for this. Creating common folders in the correct language, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Install personal bookmarks, Firefox unreadable text for dark themes, ZSH software, add key servers for key importing. Not sure I necessarily want to do anything to do with that. Settings. Firefox. Okay. And we could even install Compiz. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to leave this for the time being exactly as it was. I would need to read a little bit more about exactly what this is about before I go any further. So Okay, it's asking us, do we want to open this with Sublime Text? Read me. Okay, well, that's not helping us. Oh, right. I probably clicked on that a little bit too quickly. Let's go into Genie again and see what we see. The GitHub will not only install the desktop, but will install all needed software. We'll also make it easy to have a desktop you can be proud of. All icons, themes, cursors, wallpapers, conkeys will be there. Just select from them. Change the scripts to give it a personal touch. Hashtag out the applications you don't want. Copy and paste lines and add any applications that you do want. Then just run the scripts. Guys, I'm not going to run any more scripts. I'm looking at this and I'm actually quite happy with it. I'm going to do now one of the things which I don't necessarily expect many distros to get right, and that's to get my my Canon printer actually working without installing the Canon drivers. So let's just have a look. So it's picked it up. There, I see. And it's saying the connection will be driverless. So let's just move forward. It's searching for drivers, and I'll see if it succeeds. This is a little bit unfair, really, because I normally install the proprietary drivers from the AUR. But just to see if this actually works, I thought it might be interesting to submit a test page. And hopefully you can hear. It's picked it up and it's working. I really like this. I'm quite impressed at this. I think we should go and have a chat about this and generally have a talk about what we think of Arco Linux. Before we go and have a chat, though, I've just realised that there's probably one of the things that we need to have a look at. I want to look at the bash RC file, because everything that I've read seems to suggest that there are lots of custom aliases created already. So, yeah, I can see already there that just typing update will update the system, and we don't have to type sudo pacman syyU. What else is there that might be of particular interest? Alias pksyua updates yay. Grub update or update grub runs the update grub command. And there's a whole range of things there. Okay. Interesting. Right, so I'm just going to shut that down for the time being. I believe also that if I run the command skel, some of the changes that are actually installed will initially be installed in the skel directory, but if I run skel, it will copy them over to my main installation. So let's just run that and see what happens. Okay, don't know if I'm required to log out here, but we'll log out anyway, and then re-log in and see if anything's changed. It all pretty much looks the same to me, so it looks like any changes were already done, but it may well be worth running skel after you've done an update. Okay, guys, let's go and have a chat. So that's our ArcoLinuxD, the Mate variant, and just to show you, it printed out fine, which I was really impressed with. So, some pluses and minuses here. I love the theming of Arco Linux and ArcoLinuxD, the Mate edition. I thought it looked great. Really quite impressed. The ability to do your base install with Calamaris and then just pull down a load of scripts and run each script to get all the theming and your desktop environment up and running is an interesting way of doing things, and not something I'm necessarily against, not by any stretch of the imagination. It took a little while, but actually I was really impressed with the result, and I ended up with an incredibly nice Arch Mate desktop. My issue, if any, with Arco Linux is what seems to be a slight disconnect there. The website's quite hard to kind of wander around and figure out what to do. I'd come across this one video which seemed to show a Calamaris that give me the option to install all of the software that I wanted and the desktop environment I wanted during the initial install. And so I was sort of expecting to see that. It looks, though, as if that article was only on the 30th of Jan, and the latest ISO that I downloaded was from the 20th of Jan, I think. I'm just going to double check that, actually. Downloads, 20th of January. So, in fact, is that right? Let me just check that. Sorry, the 4th of January. So, it may well be that Calamaris installer, where you can install everything that you need, will be built in to the next ISO release in February, which is great. I was just expecting it to be there already. I downloaded what appeared to be the latest ISOs, so I fully accept I could have done something completely wrong, but we figured it out anyway. And by searching through the Arco Linux Arco Linux website, I found the installation instructions for doing a clone of GitHub and just running the scripts one by one. I'd like a little bit more detail about the scripts. Just telling me to run them from the lowest number to the highest number is dangerous, slightly dangerous, but I suppose if you're going to run scripts from GitHub, you should really take a look at them and decide whether or not you're going to do it anyway. So there were gaps there, and I'm sure those gaps are filled in the website. I'm sure there's a place that explains it in detail, whereas I was kind of making it up as I went along, really. But it comes back to that website not being that obvious, or maybe it's even by design because it's trying to force you to go through a learning cycle. Bottom line, though, is I was really impressed with the end result. There are quite a few ways to install Arch Linux now, using scripts to make installation easy. It was still easy installing ArcoLinuxD. It just forced me to do it in a certain way. Having said that, I could have used the easy install to just install the base system and then done a, Pacman -S, Mate Extra, and installed a bog standard Mate desktop in Arch and treated it as a plain Arch install from there on. So you do have choices, and perhaps choices are what it is all about with Arco Linux. I'm going to play with this a little bit, and I'm going to continue reading the website, and I do have some space on one of my SSDs on this system, and I haven't been tempted to install another distro on my main hardware for some time now. Currently, I'm just running Debian and plain Arch, Arch Mate, that I've installed the Arch way. But I'm going to try and learn Arco Linux because it looks to me like it has great potential. And I'm really going to be interested in the next release. So, guys, I came a bit of a cropper because it wasn't what I was expecting, but generally all good. you really can install Arch any way you want with Arco Linux. You just have to get to grips with a bit of a mixture of command line and graphical installer. But you can, of course, go all the way back to the straightforward XFCE desktop, which is fully loaded. So you don't need to go through the process that I went through. But experimentation is what it's all about. So, guys, important day in the UK. You can see I've got my Union Jack sweatshirt on. Little bit of a celebration last night, so I'm feeling a little bit worse for wear. But I hope you all have a great weekend, what's remaining of it, and I look forward to seeing you next week.